So how does one typically structure a syndication?
If you are looking to be a sponsor yourself for syndication, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to go find a good real estate attorney.
Okay.
This is not something that you can ever hope to do successfully and really legally without an attorney helping to set those boundaries for you. Because every state has its own laws, but on top of the state, you have to deal with a lot of federal regulation as well. Okay. And so unless you have a legal background, you're going to get yourself and other people in a lot of trouble if you don't do that. So go to a real estate attorney, tell them about the project. I already have the project in mind. So don't think I'm going to go just start a syndication and go talk to an attorney, because there are several different types of legal framework that you can use depending on how you're going to structure the returns of a project or even the type of asset that you're going to be purchasing.
Wow. So when structuring that syndication and going to the attorney, you should have an idea of the equity that's split up between each person. Mm-hmm. And as the sponsor, does the sponsor get something in return for organizing the deal?
So each project is unique, and the sponsors can either participate fully, meaning that they invest with the same dollar for dollar type of investment as an investor, or sponsors can have special consideration, which means essentially, in fact, in the situation or the projects that I've been putting together, our investors will bring in all of the cash, and then I bring the knowledge and all of the sweat equity into the project. So I'm putting in maybe $3,000 or $5,000 total myself, but I'm getting 25% that I get to keep for myself with that project, and my business partner Brian keeps 25%.
And that's the encouragement that we want to share. Is a lot of investors want to go big, and however they feel there's limits. I can't go big because I don't have my own cash.
Right.
There are ways through what we're learning right now that it can be done with sweat equity.
Yes.
Okay, great.
How do you, I guess in your experience or advice,
Sure.
What advice would you have for people who want to, I guess, put together a syndication or find investors
Sure.
to and present them with the, I guess, whatever project it is?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure that the project that you have is a good one.
Okay.
If you've got a project that maybe makes 7-8%, which might be great for a person to buy for themselves, if you're going to try to keep half the project for yourself and then syndicate the thing to be able to pull in all that income,
right?
If you're keeping half of 7% return, that means you're keeping 3.5% return, and you're only giving a 3.5% return to your investor. Most investors are going to turn their nose up at that and say, well, I don't want to get involved in that. So being able to find a project that can return 18 to 20% is difficult, and it's rare, and that kind of a return relies as much upon your ability to execute on operating the property so that it yields that kind of a return as it does on finding the right type of property to do that with. If I had a project that on its own will give me an 18% return, I can keep half of that, 9% to me, or me and my business partner, and then give 9% back to you guys, and everybody feels like they've got a big win. In a syndication, you are not actually directly investing in a piece of real estate.
Right, you're investing in the sponsor.
And you are buying a piece of a company that has been built for the sole purpose of owning that particular piece of real estate.
All right. Yeah, I was really excited to invest with Ben because I knew, obviously, your track record for putting deals together. And if there is a position where I will be a sponsor, then I've learned from investing first and then being able to spearhead a project. So.
Sure. And another thing in syndications, too, that can be helpful is if you want to put together your own, and maybe you're making that transition from being an investor to the first-time sponsor.
Right.
It's a great idea to find somebody else who's syndicated properties before and offer them a small piece of your project just to administrate that syndication for you. So, we had our monthly meeting that we hold, and one of the guys afterwards said, hey, I found a great project that is going to be a single family that we can convert into 6 units. It's zoned that way already. Everything's great. I want to syndicate it. I don't know how. Ben, would you do that for me? And I'll give you a portion of it that you can keep just for setting it up. And then part of my responsibility in addition to setting it up is teaching him how to do it for himself.
And he's the one who's actually the sponsor in that.
Right. So we'll both be sponsors because I'm not actually going to be physically investing
Got
money.
it.
And I'm going to be getting a part of the return. But I'm setting him up and training him to be able on the next time to fly on his own. So he'll understand how to do it. I'm walking him through, coaching him through how to do it well, to stay within the legal boundaries and making sure that he gets the returns out to the investors on time and communicates well to everybody, because there's a lot of steps into doing it right. And so, I do that, but then there's a lot of people, depending on where you are in the country, that will, in exchange just for a small piece of that first project, teach you how to do it so you can be self-sufficient going forward.
And is that common to have multiple sponsors?
It can be. There are a lot of guys that do it on their own. I like to do it with multiple people because everybody brings different strengths to the table.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you all for viewing. See you at the next one.